1921, the Virginia Graeme Pool and Spa Safety Act, introduced by Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Congressman Frank Wolf. H.R. 1721 requires pools and spa drains with specified anti-entrapment standards, establishes a CPSC administered grant program to encourage the states to enact pool and spa safety reforms, and develops a national drowning prevention education program. Given the numerous tragic and preventable deaths of young children who have drowned in swimming pools, fountains, and spas as a result of faulty drains, this bill is overdue and worthy of passage under the suspension of the rules. The bill is named after Virginia Graeme Baker, the beautiful little girl whose tragic death drove her mother, Nancy Baker, to tirelessly fight for this legislation. As amended in the subcommittee, H.R. 1721 requires a specified barrier around residential pools and imposes security and safety requirements on the home, such as self-closing, self-latching doors, in order to qualify for federal funds. Moreover, the bill authorizes an annual appropriation of $5 million over 5 years. At the subcommittee level, we chose this level of funding because of the simple reality that the Consumer Product Safety Commission has scant experience with grant programs, and the Commission's overall budget currently is only $67 million. As such, we want to ensure that this program is run effectively and does not overshadow the other worthy and equally important programs under the watch of the CPSC. This is another bipartisan, carefully crafted bill and is yet another example of the bipartisan cooperation we currently achieve in the Subcommittee on Commerce, Trade, and Consumer Protection. I want to commend the majority and minority staff for working together to produce thoughtful, quality pieces of legislation. And I want to thank my friend from Florida, the ranking member of the subcommittee, Mr. Stern, for his continued bipartisan cooperation. This bill, along with the 3 previous bills we have just considered on the floor, is a good start, but there is more to be done to reform the Consumer Product Safety Commission and its underlying organic statute to protect America's consumers. The recent barrage of high-profile recall of toys manufactured in China highlights the need for Congress to decisively act and strengthen our laws that protect our children from dangerous products. I am currently working on a reform package that will do just that. I hope that my colleague, Mr. Stearns, and I, along with Chairman Dingell and Ranking Member Barton, can continue our cooperative effort to produce a piece of legislation that we can proudly bring to the House floor with the same bipartisan support exemplified by the bills that we have on the floor today. With that, Mr. Speaker, I urge a resounding yes vote, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill, the Virginia Graeme Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act, as the Chairman mentioned, simply aims to prevent tragic drowning and entrapment accidents that, of course, are entirely preventable, with the addition of some simple equipment at a modest cost. I think we all agree. What we have here today, I believe, is significantly different and significantly improved over what was initially referred to our committee. So again, in a bipartisan fashion, I think we've improved the bill. So I commend the Chairman for including some of the modifications that we suggested and some of the modifications that came from his staff. My colleagues, this legislation has 2 distinct components. 1, it adopts an industry standard on drain covers. And 2, it establishes a grant program administered by the Commission designed to provide incentives to states to change their state laws regarding pool safety demand. These incentives, through these grants, the states will change their laws. I fully support the intent of this measure, and I'll therefore support the drain cover standard. I would like to reiterate the concern I expressed during consideration of the bill earlier, that of turning voluntary industry standards into Commission rules. Without repeating what I said earlier in one of the previous bills, I again simply caution my colleagues about the unintended precedents our actions today may put in place. Further, I'd like to express my reservation about the Pool Safety Grant Program and its effect on a state's rights to regulate property and safety within its own borders. This piece of federal legislation mandates that states adopt specific safety standards and no other. Mr. Speaker, there are 38 states with pool safety laws on the books today. None of these states, my colleagues, including my home state of Florida and the state of California, probably the two states with the most swimming pools and the most stringent pool safety laws, will be eligible for the $25 million in grants funds unless they change their existing laws, making this essentially a 12-state grant program. Excuse me. The law mandated by this legislation are overly prescriptive and may even weaken the safety laws of some states. Some of us will disagree on this, but I mean that's what we possibly consider. Holding federal tax dollars over the heads of state lawmakers to urge them to change in their states their laws to a prescribed standard may not have any effect. We hope it does. If a state opts to change its laws, the change will unfortunately and indiscriminately raise the cost of compliance for all pool owners, regardless of whether they have children or not. I note that the Commission itself expressed concern about the grant program. The CPSC does not have experience administering any grant program, and Mr. Speaker, it's not staffed to do so. Now, notwithstanding those concerns that I've just expressed, I voice my support for this bill today and for its author, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who did a very strong, persevering job on this. It came through a committee when I was chairman. We tried to make changes. I appreciate her patience, and I look forward to supporting her, and I commend her for her perseverance. We're going to support the bill because it will undoubtedly improve swimming pool safety by requiring that all drain covers sold in the United States be made in accordance with standards to prevent entrapment. This is very good. These horrific entrapment accidents are entirely preventable, and it's my hope that this legislation will result in such prevention and avoidance. With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to yield to the co-author of this outstanding piece of legislation, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, 5 minutes.
The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 1721, the Virginia Graeme Baker's Pool and Spa Safety Act. And I want to particularly thank Chairman Bobby Rush, the Chairman of the Subcommittee on Commerce, Trade, and Consumer Protection, and Chairman John Dingell of the Committee on Energy and Commerce for their incredible leadership and support on this legislation. Additionally, I'd like to thank Ranking Member Barton, Congressman Wolf, and Congressman Ramstad for their steadfast support of this legislation, as well as Ranking Member Stearns, my fellow Floridian. I also want to thank Safe Kids Worldwide for always being such a wonderful resource as this legislation became a reality. On June 15th, the beautiful Graeme Baker, on June 15, 2002, the beautiful Graeme Baker, whose picture is in front of me, attended a pool party with her entire family, her mother Nancy and her 4 sisters. Everyone was having a great time swimming when all of a sudden one of Nancy's daughters came running to tell her that Graeme was in the spa. Nancy ran to the edge of the spa and all she saw was dark and bubbling water. Her daughter, frantically crying and pointing into the tub, insisted that Graeme was there. Nancy jumped into the spa and saw Graeme with her eyes pinched closed, her hair and limbs moving with the current of water from all the jets on the side. Graeme was entrapped by the powerful suction of the drain spa and could not free herself. Nancy pulled and pulled with all her strength to help her daughter. It eventually took the strength of 2 adults to free Graeme from the spa. Sadly, it was too late. Graeme passed away in the hospital that afternoon. Following Graeme's death, Nancy and her father-in-law, former Secretary of State James Baker, became and still are tireless advocates for children's pool and spa safety. When I met Nancy, I was immediately taken by her tragic story of the loss of her daughter. As a fellow mother of twins, I was most affected by Nancy's incredible desire to ensure that what happened to Graeme did not happen to any other child. She has channeled all of her energies into raising the issue of pool and spa safety to a national audience. Her passion is an inspiration to me, and I am proud to sponsor this legislation in her daughter's name. The Baker family tragedy is a painful example of the need for national pool and spa safety legislation. We must implement national standards to replace the haphazard safety measures that allowed Graeme and hundreds of children like her to be lost in such nightmare scenarios. I'm a mother of 3 young children, and I've talked about them on the floor many times relating to various pieces of legislation. And as any mother of young children will tell you, supervision does lapse. Supervision when children are around water is imperative. But as a mom of twins, as a mom of a 4-year-old, I can tell you that there are times when even the best parent, even the most vigilant parent, lets a child slip out from under their view and they accidentally fall in the water. That has happened countless times. Let me just tell you what most parents' view in a survey was of supervising their children around water. While 94% of people report that they always actively supervise their children while swimming, closer examination indicates that parents often participate in a variety of distracting behaviors. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 1 in 5 parents believes that a lifeguard is the main person responsible for supervising children in the water. Lifeguards are a key safety measure, but they supervise an average of 25 swimmers per lifeguard. They also report that 55% of parents thought that there were circumstances in which it was okay for a child to swim without a buddy. Within this category, 31% said it was okay to leave a child unsupervised if he or she swam with a buddy. 29% thought it was okay if the child was an excellent swimmer. 23% thought it was okay if the child had several years of swimming lessons. I could stand here all day and I would still not be able to adequately emphasize that parents must adequately supervise their children whenever they are in or near water. But we all know that supervision lapses. That's what this bill is designed to do. It's designed to encourage states to adopt swimming pool safety laws, to ensure that suction drain entrapment, which occurs when a child passes over a swimming pool drain that has suction so strong that it holds them to the drain underwater and either entangles their hair or even disembowels the child. We can prevent this. Drowning is the second leading cause of preventable death from children 1 to 14 years old in this entire country. And even cold weather states have hundreds of drownings every single year. We can stop this. We can encourage states through funding and through education programs to adopt swimming pool and spa safety laws. I urge the United States House of Representatives to adopt this legislation so that we can make sure that we end or dramatically reduce, at the very least, the likelihood of young children drowning needlessly in a swimming pool or spa. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Illinois, do you seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
Yes, sir. Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, I recognize the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Ramstad, for 3 minutes.
Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
I thank the ranking member for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 1721, the Virginia Graeme Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act. And I'd like to thank my colleague from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, for her incredible efforts, her tireless leadership on this important legislation. But for her efforts, this legislation wouldn't be on the floor before us today. Mr. Speaker, this past July, a truly horrendous tragedy changed the life of my young constituent forever. 8-year-old Abigail Taylor was swimming in a local club's swimming pool when she became entrapped by the pool's drain system. This brave young girl and her family fought with everything they had for her survival. She's now endured numerous surgeries and is faced with permanent disabilities that no child should ever have to suffer, with unspeakable injuries, permanent debilitating injuries that no child should have to suffer. While it's too late to protect young Abigail Taylor from her cruel, debilitating injuries, it's not too late to protect millions of other children who use swimming pools and spas. No child should ever be disemboweled by a swimming pool drain And Mr. Speaker, members, that's what we're talking about here. That's what happens to these children. They're disemboweled by the suction from these swimming pool drains. This important legislation will establish a new consumer product safety standard, as has been explained previously by Mr. Rush, whose leadership I also deeply appreciate, as well as Mr. Stearns and Ms. Wasserman Schultz. The standards will require each swimming pool or spa drain cover to conform to the entrapment protection standards of the American National Standards Institute and the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Obviously, two organizations with direct expertise, and these are very reasonable, not onerous standards, very reasonable standards for industry, which will protect our children in swimming pools. Mr. Speaker, let me just conclude by saying one drain entrapment is one too many. One precious little 8-year-old girl losing part of her small intestine is too much suffering to comprehend. Too much suffering to comprehend. It's time to take action to ensure our children are protected. When children are sent to swimming pools by their parents or are there with their parents, every parent should have a reasonable probability, a reasonable belief that their children will be safe in that pool. It's time to pass this critical legislation. On behalf of Abigail Taylor and the millions of children who deserve to be safe in our pools, let's pass this life-saving legislation without further delay. I yield back and again thank the gentleman for yielding.
Thank you, gentlemen. Reserve the balance of our time.
Gentleman from Illinois.
Mr. Speaker, I continue to reserve.
Mr. Speaker, I have one more speaker. Okay. With that, I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess. Dr. Burgess, a member of the Subcommittee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, Trade.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. I thank our subcommittee chairman for bringing this bill to the floor and all the people who've worked so hard on this legislation over the years. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to rise in support today of H.R. 7121, the Virginia Graeme Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act. During the Commerce, Trade and Consumer Protection Subcommittee markup, it occurred to me, because of some things that had happened back in my district, that there was an additional danger that was not being addressed in the hearings we had leading up to this legislation. So during the subcommittee process, I introduced an amendment that was inspired by the tragic accident that occurred in an ornamental pool back in my district, back in Fort Worth, Texas. In June of 2004, 3 children and 1 adult drowned at the Fort Worth Water Gardens. Myron Dukes, age 39, his daughter Lauren, age 8, his son Christopher, 13, and a family friend, Juanitris Dedman, age 11. On that tragic day, 1 child accidentally fell into the ornamental pool, and the other 3 jumped in trying to save the child. Compounding the tragedy, the water was unusually deep due to a recirculating pump malfunction and recent heavy rains. Mr. Speaker, let me quote to the House from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram about that event. Fort Worth Star-Telegram, June 17, 2004. The victims were among the thousands of visitors attending the National Baptist Congress at the Fort Worth Convention Center. The pastor, Gerald Dew, said he was told the children went to the water gardens to play because the swimming pool at the Fort Worth hotel where they were staying was closed for maintenance. One of the children slipped, which started a chain reaction. Bike Patrol Officer Tony Maldonado, who was one of the first officers to arrive at the swimming pool, said he jumped in and the force literally sucked the socks off of my feet. From the Fort Worth Star-Telegram in 2004. While this tragedy happened in Fort Worth, the visitors were from Chicago and were constituents of my subcommittee chairman and friend, Congressman Bobby Rush. I know that both of our cities, Fort Worth, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, grieved about this loss. And Mr. Speaker, let me quote to you from an online report from the CBS affiliate in Chicago, chicago.com, on the reopening of the water gardens last spring. This is from March of 2007. Quoting again, "The Park of Artistic Pools and Fountains closed following the June 2004 drownings of the 4 from Chicago who were in Fort Worth for a religious convention. Since then, more than $3 million in modifications to improve the park's safety have been made. The renovations from the past month don't take away from the mystique, Mayor Mike Moncrief said during the ceremonies. Now the depth of the active pool where the drownings occurred has been restricted to less than 2 feet. Other renovations include new pumps, a new pump system, switches, electrical work, lights, and additional handrails, as well as a larger and easier to clean drain system around the park's perimeter. Mr. Speaker, as with many things in life, awareness and education can save lives. And this disaster that happened in my district in Fort Worth, must not be repeated. More education regarding the unseen dangers hidden in ornamental pools is necessary. Mr. Speaker, almost every single community in this country has an ornamental pool. We have quite a few here at the Capitol. We have while 36 states have pool safety programs, not all of these states have an ornamental pool safety program, and therefore, they likely do not educate their constituency on the dangers that ornamental pools can represent. Ornamental pools often greatly enhance communities. But if they can also pose a great threat to communities if the owners and operators are not educated as to the potential danger. Through my amendment in this bill, there will be a wider public education campaign to alert consumers to the safety hazards associated and the requirements for proper maintenance of ornamental pools. The bill, which requires the use of proper anti-entrapment drain covers and drainage systems, establishes a swimming pool safety grant program to be administered by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. This legislation also encourages states to strengthen pool and spa safety laws and increase public education and outreach to consumers. I believe the inclusion of ornamental pools in this bill is an important component of this legislation, and I urge my colleagues to support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll yield back the balance of my time.
With that, Mr. Speaker, we have no further speakers, so I yield back the balance of our time.
Gentleman from Illinois.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass H.R. 1721 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and with that objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.